Testing, testing. Okay.
Okay, you ready for Saturday's finale? A lot of energy here in the Expo. I know, I just went through it on the panel. That was a very intense. Who was at the panel, the interdimensional panel? That was a lot of energy, wasn't it? I know I'm exhausted, but all that light coming through, I think I need a rest. But Althea is going to really bring us into the capstone of today's energy field, the teachings, the channeling, the transmission. So lock it in when she delivers her stuff. Let's give Althea a big, big hand.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you. And can everyone hear me okay? Also at the back? Okay, awesome. Welcome. Thank you, everyone, for being here. For those of you who saw me earlier, I sat 2 panels in a row. One was planned, the other one not. So bear with me. I'm on a very, very, very expanded energy. So I'm really excited to just speak a little bit more about today's subject, which is multidimensional collective, planetary, and galactic gridwork. I'm going to speak, and then I'll leave a little bit of Q&A time at the end, and then I will be doing some channeling and some light language as well at the end. So if you have questions, it can be any questions. It can be on the light language, on the presentation. Like, I'm always more than happy to answer whatever you guys need, okay? So let's start. Can we maybe close the door? No, it's okay. Thank you. So the reason this year I chose to speak about gridwork, it's because it's a really popular topic, and there's more and more people who are delving into this craft and into this art, and it's been expanding more and more, and it's a really complex and difficult thing to explain via Zoom or on like an online platform. I guess you can still have the presentations, but I found like I got a very direct message to, speak about that here and be in person while I do that. And also because of the level of information that came through, it's actually at this moment in time only meant to be for who is drawn and called to it. Sometimes when we have, when we expand on the platforms, it reaches different areas, but you don't necessarily have to go look for it. So each and every one of you who is here now chose to be here. So thank you for that. Thank you for taking the time. Basically, I'm going to go into a little bit of like theory before I get into more practical things. So basically, okay, what are ley lines in their key aspects? Their ley lines are believed to be natural lines of concentrated energy that flow between sacred sites and places that have, historical and spiritual significance. They could be ancient temples, pyramids, stone circles, cathedrals, or even like mountains and rivers. Where they intersect, it's said to be particularly powerful. So basically, the first person who really started discovering and speaking about ley lines was someone called Alfred Watkins. And he came up with this ley line hypothesis. He obviously channeled it. He just didn't know he was channeling. He was an archaeologist. And he proposed this idea of ley lines after observing alignments between ancient landmarks and monuments within the English countryside, actually. That's when it first started. So he noticed like prehistoric sites that seem to be connecting through like lines on the earth. And he actually believed that it came from ancient trades and ceremonial routes where people used to walk and do ceremonies and trade and exchange. So he already felt that there was energy there that was being exchanged. A lot of different cultures talk about ley lines, like the Chinese have like the dragon lines, the Indians. So yeah, it's basically these energetic pathways that connect different sites, okay? So, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna get into a little bit more detail as I carry on, but there are different ways, you know, where like the new age technology has come in with like satellite mapping and sensors and measuring and radar and all of that. I will get into, you know, the sacred geometry and the electromagnetic fields, but it's a very, ley lines and planetary grid work merges a lot of different kind of like disciplines together. It's a multidisciplinary field. So it'll be your archaeology, your geology, your anthropology, your geophysics, and your metaphysical, you know, and your spiritual and your psychic. Yeah, so for example, you have your like pyramids of Giza, which are in line with Orion. You have like your Stonehenge, and then I want to briefly speak about Adam's calendar, just because I personally lived at like 20 kilometers from this site for the past 4.5 years of my life. This is a place that is found in the north of South Africa, near the Kruger National Park, near the border with Mozambique. And my story with this place is very interesting. So I'll give you a little bit of background on the place first, and then I'll explain to you how this, like why, this is like why I was introduced to grid work and how I was introduced to grid work, you know, within this place. So it's a place that's overlooking a valley. And it's in the open, and it actually resembles Stonehenge. So this image that you're seeing here is AI generated, but it's what it probably used to look like before, you know, 75,000 years ago, before it kind of like collapsed and destroyed from the weather and things like that. The stones are arranged in like a circular pattern. They are monolithic stones, which means that they have certain concentrations of metals and minerals in them. And guys, I kid you not, it's the weirdest thing. If you touch the stones with like a metal, they make the metal sound back. And I've never heard any stone do that because of whatever concentration is in it. And some of them sound like they are hollow. And basically, like, let me show you a few images. Yeah, so this is like an aerial view of it. This is the stones when you're like there. This is what it looks like. It's like a calendar. So if you look at the three in line, those are in line with Orion. The two in the middle represent the masculine and feminine. And I think one's in line with Mars and the other one with Venus. And then it can tell exactly the time as well. It can tell the months. It's like a perfect calendar, and it's 75,000 years old. And they say that it's the first example of like civilized human culture. So yeah, it also works with sacred geometry, so there's all the geometric shapes that happen within it as well. So if any of you have been to Stonehenge, you can see that it's kind of similar to that. So yeah, basically my experience with Adam's calendar is very interesting because I knew about this, but I was then told that the past like 15 years of my life, and the reason why I moved to South Africa when I did was because of Adam's calendar and because of this grid work that had to be done. So my story is I grew up in Milano in Italy. I traveled a little bit studying, and then at 23 years old, I moved to Cape Town to study. I finished my studies there, and then I was going to go back to Italy, but then I decided to stay. I stayed there, and I lived in Cape Town until 2019, and then that year I fell pregnant and the pandemic happened. And then as that happened, I moved up to stay by buy Adam's calendar. And the only reason I was able to move there was because my parents, 15 years before that, from Milano, decided randomly, obviously not randomly, to buy a house 20 kilometers from Adam's calendar. Like, my parents are Italian. They both grew up in Milano. Like, they were traveled, but something told them, like, to buy a house in, like, there. And it was like a population of maybe like there was a city nearby, but like maybe 100,000 people, like not very big. There was like a small Italian community, but at the time I didn't know and I didn't understand. And then when I was relocated there, in 2019, I had my child there and I was there with my family, and I slowly started getting in the information that I had to hold grid on that side of the world while the pandemic was happening, and I had to go to the site to do sacred work. And this started coming to me more and more and more until my contract was actually finished with this place about a year and a half ago. We still have property there, but about a year and a half ago, my contract ended, and then I decided to stay a bit longer, and then the universe was like, no, now you need to move and relocate. So then I removed back to Cape Town. But the whole reason for us to actually like get property and be in that place was because of Adam's calendar. So now I had a few like very intense experiences there. I'm not gonna tell all of them because I got quite a few things to get through, but I'm gonna speak about this one because it's like a really powerful one. So a colleague of mine came to visit me there. Oh, and also, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Michael Tellinger, like it's his land and his property. So anyway, a colleague of mine came to visit me, and she was with her husband, and also a very spiritual channeler, like language and everything. And we didn't know, we just like walked to the place. It's like a half an hour, 40-minute walk from where you park your car, and no one really knows how to get there. Like you need to like if you know the place is there, you'll get there, but it's not really like super advertised. So we walk there, and then we sit down, and we sit across from each other, and her husband's like placing, grid around us and walking. And we just start like anchoring into our body and breathing, and all of a sudden, so there was like no one around. This is like fields and fields, like I think you can see, like there's nothing there, like it's not, this is rural South Africa. But there's, birds and crickets and animals and whatnot, right? So I think in the space of like 5 seconds, everything went completely silent. No crickets, no birds, no animals, nothing. So we like had our eyes closed. We opened and looked at each other, and we telepathically spoke. We were like, okay, something's happening. And as that was happening, we had this huge craft literally come down, like maybe like a meter or two above us, this huge gray thing. And we were like we could see it, but we didn't want to like turn our head up because we were also like petrified, like happy, like it was a whole mixture of emotions. And we were just like looking at each other, and they told us telepathically, they were like, don't worry, we're not here to do anything. They just literally came to check what we were doing on the side, give their blessing, and make sure that, that it was okay, that we were, that we weren't doing anything that we weren't supposed to be doing. So this was my first experience of really understanding what grid work was, on a place on Earth. So it was quite a lot. Yeah, so I'm going to briefly touch on like Earth's meridians, and these are like key bullet points that I'll speak about now, and I'll get into more detail of each and every one as I go on. But basically, yeah, there's meridians, which are if any of you are familiar with meridians in the body, there's meridians in the body as well, and some of them correspond to the meridians on Earth too. We are eventually moving past, the chakra system and the meridians into full, crystalline light body structure, but for now, they're still really, really well anchored. Let's put it that way. They're basically like lines that run from the north to the south poles. Where the lines intersect, there's like these energy vortexes as well, where you can use the energy is amplified. There's portals that open and close as well. And the actual prime meridian goes through Greenwich, and that's how we regulate the time. So Greenwich Mean Time is the time that you based all the time zones on the Earth, and that's where the prime meridian actually passes through. So yeah, again, where the ley lines cross, you'll get these portals, you'll have these numerology dates like 111 or 222 or whatnot. So what happens when you have these alignments in planets and in numbers is basically the crossing of the ley lines, the portal and pocket of energy opens and amplifies. So whenever you have these alignments, you can actually use the energy to your advantage. Like you can harness the energy and use it, and this is just what portals are. They're not like big portals. I mean, sometimes they're above us and around us and whatnot, but generally when you have, the astrological and the numerology happening, the portals will be where the ley lines cross and intersect, and that's why the energy is felt coming up from the Earth. You'll have your dragon ley lines in Asia, which are very beautiful. Then you'll have your Michael and Mary lines in the UK. So there's a lot of different types that are of ley lines and meridians. So now we get to the fun images. Okay, this is where it gets a bit more complex, so bear with me. Okay, so the grids, and I will get to the different types of grids as I go on, but for now, I'm just going to touch on the planetary grid before I get to all the galactic grids and the universal grids and the Christed grids and all of that. So the grids are geometric patterns, and again, guys, this is how I see them. There's different energy workers who see them differently. This is kind of like how my vision was activated and how I see them when I work on them. But again, you can also make your own grids. Like it's quite complex, but yeah. So it's again a web of interconnected geometric shapes that form a network around planet Earth. So this would be your standard icosahedron grid, which would be made of triangles. Okay, so you can see it's all triangles like put together. And then you would have your Merkaba icosahedron grid, which would be your triangles that include the Merkaba within them as well. I'll have more of these coming up to show, but just so you can see the difference of it, they're both triangular, but this one includes the Merkaba in it, okay? Then you would have your dodecahedron grid representation, which is a little bit even more complex. So in sacred geometry, your 3D geometric shape of the dodecahedron is made of 12 pentagons, okay? So it represents the universe and the cosmic harmony, and it includes the golden ratio within it as well. So it's the manifestation of creator and consciousness. The 12 is the 12 months, the 12 signs of the zodiac. It is part of the Platonic solids, and I'll get into that a little bit later. It's got, the 12 faces again. It's this number 12. It's this number 12 with the cosmic harmony. And it's seen as an energetic vehicle, okay? So it basically creates a framework for the energies to come in and out and to come and go. It habilitates that. It opens that up for the divine forces within to flow. Okay, so the golden ratio represents the symmetry also of the pentagon, and it occurs in so many things in nature, in like flowers and plants, and like a whole bunch of things. It's the Fibonacci numbers as well. So it's really connected to creation, right? It's a sacred geometric shape. There are more complex grids as well, so we'll get into that. But this is kind of like your main one, So. Yeah, this grid aligns with the planet's energy centers, and it creates a coherent structure that mirrors the Earth. Again, this is how I see it. I see it like just above the Earth. Sometimes I see it a lot higher. Sometimes I see it lower. It really depends. And again, these grids also operate on multidimensional levels, so they can morph and shift and change. But it's almost like they're fluid, but then they do end up going back, to this structure. Yeah, and then you'll have your grids within grids, basically, because again, yeah, they operate on a multidimensional level, spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. And they allow for the energy to circulate around the globe. Okay, so then you'll have like your energy pathways, as I mentioned, and your sacred sites as nodes. So basically, your nodes would be where the energy is concentrated. You know, again, like I mentioned, these sacred sites, these Giza pyramids, there's Machu Picchu, Stonehenge, and these places amplify the Earth's grid and the natural energy that is coming from the Earth as well, okay? So they're powerful portals, the ley lines cross, where cosmic and planetary energies merge. So then you'll have your galactic portals there as well, like, this is not the real pyramids, it's like AI, but it's the pyramids that are in alignment with Orion. I really tried to find an image on the internet that showed the Giza pyramids and Orion, but I don't think anyone's taken it with a good enough camera that you can see the stars and the actual pyramids aligned like in real. So I made this one, but yeah, you get it. So I'm just going to briefly speak a little bit about, and then I'll get more into this a little bit further on, about spiritual practices and grid work. So for you to really, you know, do the grid work and understand what it is, and, you know, anyone can do grid work. I'm not special. Anyone can do grid work. As long as you're able to be in tune with yourself and understand, like, it can be something as simple as you like standing in a place and calling in light, or touching a tree and imagining the earth healing. You know, you can meditate, you can use sound, you can do any spiritual practices, and I'll get into it a little bit further on how you can do it and how I actually do it myself when I travel, and my personal way, but I know so many people who use so many different ways to work on the grid and to do this type of grid work, okay? So, yeah, sometimes if there's disruptions, sorry, I'm just checking quickly. Yeah, okay. Sometimes if there is disruptions on the grid, it can affect humanity and the planet. So things like war, death, conflict, environmental like harm and things like that can really affect you. So have you ever been to a place and felt like nauseated or sick? And like if it's a house, okay, but like an open space, a field. So this is an experience that I had. Actually, this also was an early experience that I had with energies within a site, but I just wasn't aware at the time. So this was back in like 2015. I ended up going to this party with my boyfriend at the time, and I got there, and there were a lot of people, and it was a big party, and it was a beautiful venue on the beach. But as soon as I got there, like, I started feeling really, really sick. Like I started like getting nauseated, and I had maybe like one cocktail or something, like I was drinking alcohol at the time, but I mean, it didn't justify how I was feeling, right? And I was actually very sick and vomiting the whole night. The whole night I was super, super sick. The next day I was also like, it was not fun. And I was like, okay, whatever. And I remember feeling strange. And I remember at night, as the lights, you know, went down and there was like the music and people partying, I could see, and this was like one big activation that I had, I could see people's faces, and their faces were like shape-shifting. And like, I freaked out a bit, and I was like, okay. And my boyfriend was like, babe, like, what, you know, he didn't really understand, but he was like, okay, well, I'm sorry you're feeling sick. Anyway, and then the next day I was a little bit better. We went back to the venue like a year later, same exact thing. And I started speaking to other friends of mine who were quite energetically sensitive, and they were also like, the woman especially, they were also like, we've actually been sick also in that venue, I don't go to that party anymore. Anyway, long story short, about like a year or two after that, I was like, okay, well, I'm not going anymore. I was like, I don't know if it was the party or the venue or I don't know. I found out that there actually had been a civil war on that beach, and like hundreds and hundreds of like soldiers had died. And there was like bloodshed and whatnot. So I was like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. So I was picking that up, you know. I just didn't have the cognitive psychic understanding at the time to know that that was what was actually happening. So the goal of grid work is really to like clear energies, clear blockages, and restore what would be your organic timeline of the place. So when a place goes into, and this is valid for humans as well, and if I have time I will get to that at the end too, but when a human or a place anchors into an inorganic timeline, it means it's off the organic path to the ascension. So again, if there's a war, if there's slaughter, even like the animals, like these factories that kill and murder and slaughter animals, like that can create a disruption in the grid. So when you're repairing the grid and you're doing this type of work, you're restoring the organic timeline, and the goal is to have the whole Earth back on the organic timeline, and to elevate it. So by anchoring into the grid and by anchoring these energies into the grid, we can connect to high-dimensional frequency spaces, celestial bodies, galactic beings, star systems. I want to quickly also talk about another experience that I had within the astral realm when my Merkaba was actually activated. I think it was like back in 2017 or something like that. I was in the astral and I found myself, I saw myself, I was in myself and seeing myself at the same time. Don't ask me how that was going on, but I think I was like in and out of myself. I was sitting in meditation above the pyramids of Giza, which I have not been to in person. I've been to Egypt, but not to the pyramids of Giza yet. And I was sitting in meditation in the middle of, suspended in midair on top of the pyramids. And I was in this bubble of light, and all of a sudden, a triangle appeared facing down, and then a triangle appeared facing up, around me. And then they both started sliding, into each other but in different direction, and created this 3D shape image that started spinning around me, and then it actually went into my heart center while I was staying in the bubble, and then I was told that my Merkaba activated within that astral experience. So that was quite powerful as well. So that was quite intense. Okay, this is a little pyramid graph that I did, just because we were talking about pyramids, but just for you guys to understand. So to do planetary grid work and to really be anchored and embodied in this type of work, you want to have awareness of self. So you first want to be consciously aware, okay, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing. And then you want to anchor into, your truth and your soul mission and your service to other and your own consciousness, so you're not operating from an ego-based space, you're operating from unconditional love, from your heart center, and then your energy starts flowing, and then you start anchoring into a global kind of collective mission and your higher astral grid, and then you can start doing this type of work. So to me, and I speak about this quite a lot, I don't know when exactly this happened for me, but anyone who is in our line of work or understands how the heart chakra functions and works. So there comes a moment in your human existence where you actually realize it's not about you anymore. There's a bigger mission, there's a bigger kind of there's a bigger reason or meaning, which doesn't mean that you don't have to have your boundaries and and be healthy within yourself and who you are, but it's a degree of opening within the heart chakra that allows you to merge back into source consciousness from your heart center. And so you operate from that space of unconditional love. So you're not doing it for yourself, you're doing it for others. And every action that you have is consciously and divinely guided within that space, within that baseline vibrational frequency. So that's what you want to be operating from when you are setting the intention to do this kind of work. And then you'll always be divinely guided. There won't be any doubt, So now the interesting part, the more interesting part. So these are different types of grid. Okay, so this is all information that I've channeled. I don't know if you can find this anywhere or not. It's not information that I've researched. It's not information that I've read anywhere. This is all information. I literally sat and I was like, okay, you want me to talk about this? What perspective, how do I speak about it, what needs to come through. So these are the different types of grids that I was shown. There's more, but these are just the ones, for this understanding. So you'll have your planetary grid, which would be the one that I spoke about, your Earth's energetic network, which includes the solar grid. The solar grid and the planetary grid are very connected. You'll have your elemental grid within the planetary grid, and then you'll have like your mycelium grid, which is your mushroom consciousness, which would be anchored within the planetary grid as well. And all these different centers. The planetary grid is anchored in organic and inorganic timelines, which is what I was explaining before. So we trying to work to get the Earth's consciousness and the grid within organic timeline. And this applies also to galactic and cosmic energy fields and grids out there as well. Then you would have your galactic grid, which would be your energy field, so your grid that includes your galaxies, and it's like a really vast cosmic energy field. It also has organic and inorganic timelines, and it would also, like our planet as like a planetary grid, other planets also have like these grids, okay? And the galactic grid will connect other planets with these grids to each other, basically, okay? Then you have your solar grid, which is your sun's energy and influence and the energy that the sun has on the earth. And your sun codes and your light information will come through that. And your your solar grid is connected to your elemental grid, your planetary grid, your earth grid, like I mentioned. Then you have your universal grid. Your universal grid connects all realities and universes. So what does this mean? This means it operates beyond our known universal laws. So there's other universes out there that have different laws, like gravity is backwards and time goes sideways. They're very, very difficult to conceptualize. I guess the best example that I can give, that they sent this to me last night. I'm like, do I really have to say this? I don't know if any one of you has seen the Doctor Strange movie, I think the second one, when he goes into like multiverse. Yeah, so he's nodding. So that would be like an example of what would be different universal laws and different universes, basically, okay? Then you'll have your collective consciousness grid, which would be your prime creator grid, which is connected to all grids at all times throughout space and time. It would be your all in all, your everything and everything, your creator being. Then you will have your fifth dimensional grid. So your 5D grid works beyond space and time. And your 5D grid is the expansion of the planetary grid within its organic timeline. So, and then I'll get to the inorganic one. So it will be the natural evolutionary state. There's no distortion, okay? And I'll explain a little bit between the grid and the dimensional densities as I navigate forward. But your 5D grid would be your organic timeline beyond space and time. Your ascension and your being is navigating towards, okay? So your dimensional density will be the dimension that you interact with and observe, and the grid and the dimensional density kind of like overlap each other and merge into each other as well. There are different etheric densities, but through both you can access knowledge. Each dimensional density has its own grids as well. So again, it's very multidimensional. Like, I was trying to also get AI to conceptualize and make this for me in an image, but even like they couldn't yet. Maybe they will in like a year or two. So I'm trying to explain this in a way that, and even if you're not really understanding, or the codes will integrate, so you're on a subconscious level, you are still integrating the information. Then you will have your higher and lower astral grids, which would be your fourth dimensional density, okay? So your higher astral grid will be close to the 5D grid. Similar, but still has a limitation of space. So I'm going to quickly just explain the dimensional densities between 1 and 5. So in the first dimensional density, something just is. In the second one, as it overlaps, it is and it has consciousness of being. In the third one, something is, it has consciousness of being. and it can now take action. However, it's still limited by the constraints of time and space. When you start accessing your 4D, which is your astral space, your dream realm, something is that as consciousness of being, it can take action, and it's only limited by space, not by time. Time is fluid. You can clear a lot of timelines and karma and karmic cycles within your astral realm, but you still have to walk, fly, and get to places. In your 5D, there's no limitation of time either, so you can teleport, and then you can clear the timelines very quickly. So your lower astral grid would be where your inorganic timelines lie. So it's your lower astral tiers, basically, where there will be like deception and traps and co-created constructs, where you would find your low vibrational frequency beings. And it's just kind of like it's a place where beings that have deviated off the organic timeline and have chosen to go in service to self in an inorganic timeline and cannot go over and anchor within the 5D grid, within the 5D density, and within the 5D realm. So it's basically beings that have moved away from, their organic evolution and have deviated. So they kind of like trapped in the lower astral tiers, basically. It's a de-evolution, a regression, a separation. So they need to move past the illusion to access the pure information, the higher realms, okay? And sometimes this is the problem sometimes, in the channelings that are going on within Earth right now, that, the lower tiers of fourth dimensional density can be an exact replica of what your 5D would be and look like, just with a bit of distortion. So if you're not mindful and aware, if you haven't done the work, if you're not operating from the heart, but you're just channeling from here, you will get caught in the deception. You will get caught in what you think is light, and you think you're channeling light, which you might be, but you might be channeling light on an 80% level. You want to be channeling, in your 5D vibrational frequency, which is where there is no room for distortion, there is no room for interference. But this is a whole other kind of subject matter, basically. But that's another grid, that we need to be mindful and aware of, and it's quite an important one when you're choosing to tap into these spaces. So there's some good information in there because it's a replica, of your lower tiers and your higher tiers, so there is some good information in it. However, there is disruption as well, okay? It's kind of like you'll get your beings that are stuck in a loop, stuck in a cycle. They've made a conscious choice not to evolve. Then you'll get your Akashic grid. So your Akashic grid is a universal record of all knowledge, and it connects across all timelines and encompasses all universal laws. So to access the Akashic grid, you need to get past the lower astral tiers. So you need to get past the lower tiers of 4D and into the 5D and into that. You cannot access if there isn't a certain degree of alignment, and if you don't have a certain heart expansion, opening, and understanding. It's very similar to a Merkaba activation. Your Merkaba is not going to activate within your system and energy field unless you've received a certain degree of opening within your heart chakra, within your heart center, within your throat, and there isn't an anchored alignment. So what they're showing me now is, so whenever you if you classically Reiki trained and you get Reiki attuned, that's a good way to have your system kind of anchored in, and that actually helps if you then want to evolve and want to okay. So I'm going to speak a little bit about multidimensional personal empowerment and just a few theories and a few things that are connected to the ley lines and the grid work. So I started working with this very high vibrational frequency activation that was sent to me back in 2019, and it's called a 13 chakra attunement, and it's a planetary, galactic, and energetic body activation which correspond to each one of the planets. And I work with opening and attuning someone's Earth Star, which is your chakra connected to the earth. Then obviously you have, your usual chakras within the system. Then you'll have your tongue, which is an extension of the throat. You'll have your high heart, which is an extension of the heart center. It's a little bit smaller between. So if you have the heart here, the throat here, you have your high heart, which is a little bit further back in there. Then you have your hand chakras, your feet chakras, and your ear chakras as well. So if you have more of these chakras open and expanded, and you are working with the meridians as well, it's going to be easier for you to be able to anchor into your power, to go and do this work, and to be sure of what it is that you are doing. Yeah, I'm going to briefly touch into, because I don't want to go off subject too much, I'm going to briefly touch into soul fragment retrieval, which is basically just like you doing shadow work and healing, clearing and releasing, and then going into aspects and part of self and integrating parts of your multidimensional self within your soul, and then through that activating more galactic and cosmic DNA, and then, coming online more, having more of your powers open and expanded, having your clairs open, and ideally you want to be operating from a space of claircognizance, which is your innate knowing, but, having like good clairvoyance and clairaudience, like and clairsentient, like it definitely helps. You want to be able to access all of them, but ultimately you want to operate through your intuition and your claircognizance. Okay, I'm going to briefly touch on Lewis Carroll Harris's theory, where she basically speaks about specific parts of the earth connected to specific chakras. Again, guys, take this with a pinch of salt. Like, take everything that I say also with a pinch of salt, and then create your own ideas. So this is someone's theory, which she formulated and she channels. Like, it can resonate or it doesn't. Like, that's also okay, What resonates with you as a grid worker is personal, and it needs no one's approval, okay? If you trust yourself and you trust your channel and you trust who you are, follow that. Don't follow me, don't follow the other person you see on TV. Follow yourself. Like, that's ultimately my goal, to empower you guys to do this work in whatever way resonates with you, in whatever way is in alignment for you and feels natural for you and for your heart center, okay? So Lewis Carroll Harris speaks about, she says, Shasta is the root. And then she says Lake Titicaca in Peru is the sacral. Uluru in Australia would be your solar plexus. Glastonbury would be your heart. The Giza pyramids would be your throat. And she also says that somewhere near Glastonbury, also in Glastonbury area, I think one's the heart and one's the third eye. And then Mount Kailash in Tibet would be your crown. Which is interesting because there's a lot of portals and energies in Tibet. Also, there's other theories where like planets are connected to the different chakras. Again, guys, this is also like someone else's theory. Some of it came through to me, but again, you can take it or leave it, So the Earth would be your root, the Mars would be your sacrum, Venus would be your solar plexus, or Venus and Jupiter could be the heart. Your Saturn and Mercury would be your throat, your Sun would be your third eye, and your Pluto and Moon would be your crown. Those of you who are astrologers maybe can also look a little bit more deeply into this. Okay, so here I'm going to go a little bit more into the grid restoration technique. So how to repair, how to activate, how to work with your channel, how to work with your physical vessel. So with me, this is how I work, and you'll see this when I'll channel as well, and those of you who've seen me channel know. So I'll open my channel becomes a vessel of light, the light comes through, it comes in through me, and then it branches out into you, into the land, into the plants, into wherever it is that it needs to go. That's how I work. I have colleagues and energy workers who they will basically create a force field outside them and use that and work with that light and then place it in specific points and areas. So they don't necessarily use their body and physical vessel. That's just how I operate, but you can work in different ways. You can create a ball of light with your hands and then place it somewhere, or you can touch a tree and the light can come in through the tree and from the tree go to the roots and go into the earth, So there's different vessels and ways that you can do this type of work. Your intention is everything. That's the most important thing, your intention, you can literally just anchor into grids and do grid work by traveling. Like, I'll literally land in an airport, and just by me landing there and being in that grid, because I carry a frequency of light, I will actually be assisting in clearing, even when I don't want to. I try to cloak myself whenever I travel, so I'll generally put an invisibility cloak over me so that I don't get psychically attacked, because when you travel, you can be a bit more vulnerable. So if you guys travel a lot, that's also maybe a technique that you want to start implementing in your routine. But yeah, so like a practical example, last year I came here and I did New York and LA. This year I did the same thing. Very different experience with the grids. Last year I found Manhattan very, very dense. I was staying just under Central Park, and I could not wait to get out of there. I was like, ugh, like it's so super dense, like really, really intense. And LA was better. Like, I think coming from that, anything would have been better, but LA felt a lot better. This year, I went back to Manhattan. I actually booked a place on the Upper West Side, and I found it a lot lighter. So I don't know if it in a year it changed, or if it where I was staying, but I was also told as well that because I anchored it for a second time, I did the major clearing and like integrating and rebalancing and merging with the grid the first time. The second time it was easier, and then I was also told, and this is how I felt as well, that my work for now there was done. So I finished, I integrated, I anchored in the grid, and I don't have to go back there next year. And this year also, LA, I found it very similar to last year. I actually found it a bit lighter, which was beautiful. But yeah, even like just by traveling into spaces, if you're aware of your body and your energy field, like you will know, you will feel the difference. You will feel the grid, you will feel yourself. And if you ask and sit and ground and stay present, like you can learn a lot just by traveling, you know? Yeah, very interesting experience also when I was in Europe. Yeah, so I'm from Milano, I'm from Italy. Very dense grid in Milano, but then when I anchored into London, I actually found it more dispersive and it was very different from the year before. So yeah, I mean, sometimes it's really just as easy as going into a place and like closing your eyes and just pouring in light from your heart and touching something and imagining, you know, light running through it. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to speak a little bit about the spiritual practices and working with the elements. So you can work a lot with nature. Nature can help you a lot. Nature can support you a lot within this type of work. The elementals are fundamental, especially if you're trying to repair a grid. Work with the fire, work with the wind, work with the leaves, work with the nature. Like, it can be as simple as sitting down in a forest and, you know, you want to work with the number 3 and you place like 3 candles around you and you call in the fire to anchor into ground, or you call in the wind to expand. And again, you find your own way. You find what works for you within the elements, within the experience, within whatever location you're in. And it can be as easy as you're walking in the forest and you're like walking with your dog or something and you feel something's off and you like feel like, oh, maybe I need to just ground a little bit here, and you close your eyes and you call in some light and then you anchor the light, and maybe you're repairing like a fracture or a fragment of the grid that needed repairing, and you don't really know that you're doing that, but you're feeling it with your heart center, you know? So setting the intention of doing this work is really important, because then it's literally just going to come to you. Yeah, again, like, you know, it can be something as simple as getting into a room, you feel stagnant energy, and you just imagine light going in and moving it. So if you don't know where to start, like starting with like smaller spaces is a good thing. So like even clearing a house to an extent is grid work. Yeah, you can work again with candles, ritual. Beach is a very beautiful place to do grid work. I did This was back in 2022. I was told to go to, I don't know, again, like I just listen. I was told to go to Mozambique, which is when I was living up near the border to Mozambique, where I was staying by Adam's Calendar. It's about like a 4-hour drive to the border, maybe 3, and then 4 to the beach. And there was an event there, and they were like, you need to go there. And I was like, okay, why? And they were like, just go. And I was like, okay. So I went there, and when I got there, I got to the most beautiful beach, like just like very, very beautiful, vast, open, like untouched. And I started feeling like all this pain and all this suffering, and then all of a sudden I saw, and like, I don't even know how many, like thousands of years ago or eons ago, there was a huge mermaid massacre. There were about 500 mermaids that were massacred on that beach and that died like bloody, like it was bloody. And I was one of them. So funnily enough, a friend of mine who was there too, she was also one of them in that lifetime. And so I had to go and clear that within my own karmic timeline. So for myself and for the grid and for other people who, well, I mean, their karma is their own, but it would have helped other people in some ways and aspects as well. So when I got there, I saw that, and then I was told, okay, I had to light specific candles and incense and put them in specific areas, and then go and sit and call in light and meditate, and I just kind of like was divinely guided throughout the process. So that was a beautiful other experience that I had with Gridwork that I didn't know or expect, or like I had no idea that was why I was getting called to do that there. Really important when you're doing this type of work to kind of like know and understand how to prep your space. So just kind of like your basics on spiritual hygiene, calling in your guides, your archangelics, clearing the space, making sure that you know that there's no portals. If you're not sure, rather ask someone, or just call in your guides to close if there's any portals or any energetic kind of like distortions. Sometimes, and this is what I've seen, and quite a few years ago, I have had experience in working in spaces where people were working with plant medicine, and I've seen sometimes specific lines and specific grids and ley lines need to be activated from specific beings because they are the only ones that hold and encode specific DNA that matches to the land. So let's say you are, you have Eastern European blood and you've been Eastern European for, 50 generations, your codes are the necessary ones to activate a ley line in Moscow, in Russia, or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes it can be like that certain repairs can only be done by certain people that have and carry those specific coordinates and codes and genetic keys and information within their system and energy field. So, and that I saw in my, I saw that happen. So it was quite beautiful. I saw this happen in the land with the natives in South Africa. The ancestral bloodline held the specific codes to repair the specific ley line, and his genetic makeup was the one that needed. Your galactic grid work is a little bit more complicated, but in the way you can do galactic grid work here would be to neutralize your inorganic timelines. So it would go into doing your astral work and clearing your trauma and karmic timelines within that aspect. Remember, when you're operating from clearing trauma and timelines within the higher tiers of fourth dimensional density, you can also access your galactic parallel lifetimes, or I don't want to say previous or future because there's no limitation of time in fourth dimensional density. So you can access them all. So by you clearing those, you would be doing your galactic grid work. It does get to a point sometimes where you're traveling your astral or your remote viewing and you actually get taken to other planets to do grid work there, but it's quite seldom, guys. Like I do a lot of work around, and I also don't do a lot of that because a lot of the Earth is needed here. So we're here now to work on the Earth, but you can do galactic grid work as well. And you need to access through your higher tiers of astral and your 5D. Yeah, okay. And then something as simple, as doing grid work, like as gridding your house and setting up an altar space and working with candles, again, working with the elements, working with the numbers. Like, I do grid work a lot if I go to like big public events. Like sometimes I'll literally just stand in the back of a room and just clear and just make sure, that whatever is needed that needs to go and needs to be cleared, and I do that. So, I mean, that's something that you can also do even just with setting an intention. Okay, I'm going to briefly speak about the sacred geometry and the Platonic solids. So again, as I mentioned earlier, there's the dodecahedron and icosahedron grid representations. So the dodecahedron and icosahedron connect to the water and the ether. Your hexa, which would be your four, which would be your cube, would be connected to the four elements, the four archangelics, the four corners of the earth. So that's how you can use it. If you want to set up a grid of four, you can use it in that way. Your tetra would be your three, your triangle, your mind, your body, your spirit. And again, maybe working with fire and activating the land. And then these would be your elementals and Platonic solids within sacred geometry combining the grids. So this would be all your solids combining the grids, how they would look like. These are just a few examples of that. And then I've got a few practical applications here on how you can do some grid work. So on also again like with dowsing rods, checking out the area, and then also like being mindful of the land, like making sure that if you're in a space like that you own this land, okay, so has it been like used for agriculture? Do I want to help restore the land? Do I want to plant like trees and basil and tomatoes and potatoes and whatnot? That's also grid work. You're also helping the earth. You're also assisting in repairing a ley line. It can also help like when you can. There's also a building of specific buildings on specific grids. So let's say that there's a specific intersection in like an area, and you decide to build your healing center there. That's obviously going to amplify and help you within that way. So it can enhance the growth and it can really support the healing. And this is a positive way that we can use, the technology and how we're evolving. It can really combine and elevate the whole process. Okay. And again, like, connecting to yourself, connecting to the consciousness when you're in, these spaces where there's these grid areas and the ley lines, it can expand your creativity, your awareness. And then you can help in clearing new old grids to make room for the new and assist just with the planet. So like another like brief example that I'm going to speak about is last year I was guided to go to Costa Rica and do a retreat there, and I was explained that, and I didn't know why, they just said to me, go to Costa Rica. So I was like, okay. And I was actually explained that there was a specific energetic portal there that had been open for about a year and a half, maybe two, where because of what had happened within the land and this energetic portal that was there, the karmic healing and clearing could happen a lot more quickly than in many other places. And this is why a lot of energy workers are actually moving there or doing retreats there, because of this energetic portal. So, it was a really beautiful experience. I have another retreat coming up soon in Bali, which is in September. So if any of you are interested, I did leave the flyers about that there as well. It's going to be very, very powerful. So you can ask me about that after as well. And then just before I get into the live language, because I know the energies are going to be like super heightened after, so just while I have everyone's attention, I am here for another week, and I am taking one-on-one in-person activations. So if you do want that, please let me know and I can book you in. I will be staying in Venice Beach next week. If you want me to do one-on-one work with you, then just come to me after the class and let me know, and then we'll make a plan. And I think before, I don't know, do you guys want to do questions before the light language or after? After, okay, you just all want to be super activated. Okay, so you can just start by closing your eyes. Getting comfortable, lie down if you want to lie down, sit on the floor, just make yourself comfortable, release, surrender, let go. This is a safe space. And just find your comfortable space, find your comfortable energy. And please, you're more than welcome to open channel. You're more than welcome to clear release. Everything is welcome here. If you feel like screaming, crying, burping, coughing, gagging, yawning, I've seen it all. I've been through it all. We've seen it all. There were people like shaky, crying last year in this room. So please feel free. I'll ask everyone to keep their eyes closed so no one is watching. You're comfortable and you're really here to surrender and let go, okay? So we're all holding space for each other. So closing our eyes and finding our comfortable breathing rhythm. With every inhale, we breathe in light. And with every exhale, we release all that doesn't serve us anymore. So relaxing the body, system, and energy field. We stay in a space of openness and oneness. And as we feel the energy and a wave of relaxation that comes up from our feet, our ankles, our calves, our knees, our thighs, relaxing our hips, our waist, our chest, our torso, relaxing our shoulders, releasing any tension, any worry, we're letting it go, taking this time for ourselves. Relaxing our mouth, our nose, our ears, our eyebrows, our eyelids. And as we let go of any thought, any worry, anything that's been on our mind, we stay in a space of openness and oneness. And as we call on the Archangelic Collective, Michael to the south, Uriel to the north, Raphael to the east, and Gabriel to the west, we call on Archangel Metatron with his blue cloak of protection from above, and Sandalphon to seal the grid from below. As we call on our higher selves, our spirit guides, and anyone else who wishes to be present for the greatest and highest good, you're welcome in the space. We call on our galactic families, Pleiadians, Lyrians, Sirians, Arcturians, Andromedans, Mantis beings, Avians, Dragons, Assassinians, Lemurians, and Atlanteans. And anyone else who wants to be here, now you're welcome. Shukrua triateo ko anyashia nataka. Na arya trea korokokorra se yasekokorra te karokokorra yatram. Yashit as we bring in light through our root, we start opening our systems, opening. Karaisha natata tatatataisha kreatkeyo shitkana yatara tratre kokokokra kia se korat kriya siat korayatra na re running, anchoring, opening systems, opening, expanding, clearing, releasing, letting go, removing, decoding, detangling systems, opening, bringing in more light, divine rays, anchoring, letting go of judgment, letting go of fear, clearing, releasing guilt, releasing guilt, releasing shame, releasing, expanding, releasing more light coming in, anchoring, Hasya sera sraya sera tieta kara kreate shekonayatara nram reate koko kai ata krea shekotanayatara trena rea letting go, 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 letting go of judgment, letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go, cleaning, releasing, 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 opening, releasing, opening, 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 removing, 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 decoiling, detangling, 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 clearing old programs, cleaning, releasing, releasing, neutralizing, 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 timelines, expanding, 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 more light, divine rays, anchoring, 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 Takaya Shenayana Yana Yana Reate Koha Isia Sara Nara Trea Trea Te Kahoto Kora Ishit Kara Isia Nare Nahashira Takara Nahate Kara Yashieto Kora Krea 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 opening 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 into truth, opening, expanding, 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 letting go, Dakiera Taram. Shahatakare Atrea Traya 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 Se Kokoa Ishietaka Nana Rea 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 Tukura At Krea Sieso Kotak Aya Naishia Nahare At Krea Saya 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 Tar Rata Yashena Yataka Nae 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 Rashe Toko Aitia Naya Trea 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 Sitkiat Kurra Karayatare Ne Ratia Sana Yataka Tamare Mare Mare Maraya Raya Raya Tea Krekt Krokot Kot Kat Kayot Kuat Naraya Siesara Essei Iseyataka Naratea Krikt Krei Kreya Shit Kumra Mra Mrakling releasing 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 opening releasing opening releasing opening 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 letting go 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 clean releasing 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 opening releasing opening releasing 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 letting go letting go letting go letting go letting go releasing 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 letting go 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 Crea Tokoro Isheraya Tra Nane Takaishia Tara Kokua Maraya Siese Korokut Karaishia Nreotro Atia Taya Shiata Karoata Ia Siet Koraya Tra Nra Marea Rea Ro Area. It's time to let go, it's time to let go, to clear, to release, 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 surrender, 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 surrender into the heart, surrender, 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 open, 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 open into more light, allow the light to come in, allow the light to flow, to expand, to open, 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 open into more light, anchor into more light, divine rays coming in, Nahashia Sarasia, holding ourselves into compassion to light. Aishukukua he hasia sera sera krekt naratria tia teishe yokukua miatia. Naharia tria ke ukuarea sia se uno kuria sira utu unia se in anaisha, honoring ourselves, honoring our bodies. Nahaya trea te koko atie ishie ka korokut kar anara tre aseya seya kara ishia takakta. Nta aria tre atre yokuna ya tari asie serokorra ya tre Om Na Naim Naim Nam Na 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 Ishaya Sasarya Raishiratra Naim Nam Naim Nam Om Naim Nam Naim Nam Nam Ihora hasye shehokakari ashe hasye sahare athrea hetkera koma hasye sharayatra Nahashi hase se se heshe sero kohasya sheyataka Hasye sitkara krek on ate sheyate okuma a shiesaya sarayatara. As we integrate the four elements within our body, systems, and energy field, Shiesisira Ishira calling in water, Shirokoroko yatra fire, Tero Ishana yatakra, Tahashiasya calling in air, Atre Ukuko Anya Shira Sira earth, Ate Ashita Yesitakara and ether kat, Lokokasias Yesharayatra. Shukurasya, we find union, we find oneness. Yatokoroko Ishya Tekarayasya, we find completion in our systems, in our energy fields. We find grounding, we find balance. Otokorayasya, grounding, anchoring, grounding, anchoring into earth, grounding, anchoring, attuning, balancing, anchoring, balancing, systems. Yakuko Aishera Yasira, closing, sealing, closing, sealing, closing, sealing, closing, sealing, closing, sealing, closing, sealing, closing. Sealing, closing. Yasheho. Nam. Naim. Nam. Shiakukatka rokuania shie. Atese yukoraya siesa kokokachkiera tra. Tayacheta sieko ratania shiataka erayatrea sheya kakorokotka shiatara. Shukroaya ishie tanya sheya sesara yatrekia kokokatkia ishia. As we feel into our bodies, we are welcome to stay in process for as long as we need to. This is your process, your field, your body, your system, your energy, your time for you. Or we are welcome to come back to the present moment. Maybe moving our fingers, our toes, gently anchoring back to the now. And whenever we're ready, we can open our eyes. There's no rush, all in divine timing. Maybe drinking some water, smiling at our neighbor, coming back to earth. Welcome back, guys. Okay, if anyone has questions, I can take questions. Thank you, everyone. Oh, yes, sure. Yeah. I work with colleagues occasionally. Like sometimes we don't even know, and we just like get called to go to a place together, and we end up working there. But most of the time, I travel alone, so I do my own grid work. But then when I'll anchor into the place, I'll generally work with a partner there. Any more questions? Yes. Sorry. Yes. Hi. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so thank you for that. I actually was sent the Bali retreat when I was still in Costa Rica. So like 2 days before, and I think Lauren can confirm because she was there with me. 2 days before my Costa Rica retreat ended, I downloaded that the next one had to be in Bali. So I haven't tuned into the specifics of it just yet. I actually haven't had time to ask because I was prepping for, everything else, but there's definitely a reason. Yeah, there's definitely a reason for it to be there. So unfortunately, I don't have the knowledge to answer your question just now, but if you do follow my social media, I will post probably in the next 2 months or so why. Yeah, maybe I'll see you there. Yes. Mm. Yeah, of course. So we all, oh, thank you, Jordan. So we all want to get to a place, well, we all going towards a space where we're going to be operating from the light body. So basically, it's just going to be one huge crystallized chakra. And the chakras won't be separated anymore, if it makes sense. So right now, like, I operate mainly from my light body. A lot of people sometimes can come in and out. So if you're channeling light language, you'll probably be in your light body. And then maybe on your day-to-day, you're going back to operating from your chakra system. But ideally, like, we're moving towards not really having a chakra system anymore, but being just like one big unified chakra. Pleasure. Yes. Do you want to give her the microphone?
Hi. So I'm wondering where you think dream life lands in the grids, or if that's a thing or not a thing.
Your dream space.
Yeah.
That's your astral grid, so that would be your fourth dimensional grid.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
wondering, I often dream in the Akashic records, like by accident. So I'm wondering how I can do that on purpose, and if that would relate to any of the other grids, and like, because you mentioned that some of them kind of like overlap.
Yeah. How do you know you're dreaming in the Akashic records?
That's a very long answer. I just know. I can definitely like elaborate, but I don't know how much time you have.
Okay, well, my advice would be to set your intention before going to sleep. Like, generally, our astral space can be like really, really super varied, and a lot of things can happen and come and go. So if you want to create an intention so that you don't find yourself in a place where you're like, okay, like, why am I here? What am I doing? Like being more intentional with what you want to navigate within your astral realms would probably, I don't know if it would solve your problem because it sounds like a longer explanation, but I don't know if this helps.
Okay, and then last question, sorry.
Yeah, of course.
Do you think that I would be able to do grid work within my dreams? Have you heard of that
Yeah,
before?
you can, but there needs to be a certain degree and level of anchoring within the 3D for it to actually then stick, because you
Okay.
might be doing it, but it might not stick.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
A pleasure, yeah. Any more questions? Sorry, yes, I just have the light. Can you pass her the microphone as well, if you guys don't mind? Thank you.
I'll go around.
So you mentioned putting yourself in an invisibility cloak when you were traveling.
Yes.
Are there other things that you do when you're traveling or doing grid working that will help protect yourself and your energy?
Yeah, I mean, I generally now just work like my field is like consistently gridded, but what you can do if you're not operating from that level yet is work with the archangelics. So call the angels on each side. You can call a bubble of white light, or you can really call anyone. I mean, if you believe in, you can call Buddha, you can call your favorite crystal to come and protect you. Like, it's up to you, really. I find that the invisibility works really well because you're invisible, but you can place other grids around you. So it's up to your own intuition. But just remember, you're always shielding out of love, never out of fear. So this is quite a big thing. A lot of people are scared and they're like, oh my God, like I need to shield. That's a bit counterproductive. So you're doing it out of a space of love.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Anyone else? Yes?
Hi. I'm curious about your experiences with Inner Earth and the Inner Earth grids and how you work with them.
I don't really work a lot with Inner Earth grids. I mainly work with the surface level grid and with like galactic grids. Yeah, let me see if they can send me anything. Yeah, they're sending me. They're sending me. It's a very different network from the vibrational energetic printing that I carry. I work a lot on grounding my system. Like I actively have to work on grounding myself. Someone who would be of a more an earth sign or masculine, very grounded energy would be working more with the earthly grounded grids, if it makes sense. My energetic imprint and kind of like a galactic network of mission and things that I have to do here has more to do with earth and higher other level grids, if it makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much.
Okay, pleasure. Yeah. Yeah, he has a question.
Hi.
Hello.
So you mentioned that eventually the chakras were going to be one unified chakra.
Correct.
I'm curious to know if you've heard anything about this body being able to turn into a light being, and if you have any information on that.
Yeah. Yeah, not in our lifetime. It is eventually going to happen. It is a natural process of the evolution of consciousness. We'll get to a space where, like they did in ancient Lemuria, we'll be able to actually go in and out of our physical body, like by choice, but I don't think it's going to happen within our lifetime, like me and you before we leave, you know, and come back sort of thing, yeah.
Well, the reason I was asking is because my work has to do with that, and
Okay.
I've been guided to certain information, and to a man also named William Henry who studies this, and I've ran this by geneticists, and they all kind of correlates where apparently there's been over 140,000 recorded accounts of human beings turning into a body of light. 4th century China, there was a group of prisoners being taken from point A to point B. One of them became translucent, the shackles fell off. He floated into midair and disappeared into a body
Okay.
of light.
Yeah, thank you for
So,
sharing that. So what I was speaking about is different. So what I'm
Okay.
talking about is coming and going. What you're talking about is like samadhi, like just ascending. Yeah, you can do that. I mean, you can, if you take Sadhguru, his wife, she just ascended and became like a beam of body. Like there's so many cases of that. So yeah, for sure, that's happening already. But that's different. That's just people transcending and ascending into a higher realm. They're not coming back into their body. So they're just leaving and going up and then choosing to leave this incarnation, maybe operate from a 5 or 60 or in different densities. How we are going to evolve, we'll actually be able to control that. So we'll be able to leave our bodies and come back in and actually like live in between the two without having to necessarily leave the physical. So I don't know if this helps a bit to answer.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, pleasure. Yeah. Anyone else? Yes? Thank you.
Oh, here, I can give you the mic.
Do you like the microphone?
Here.
You know, I'm an astrologer. It's been my life's work, and I can't help but think about not just the grids on the body of the Earth and the galaxy, but how the planets create grids, and they're constantly changing. And if you look at an astrology chart, you see all this wonderful geometry. Could you speak to that at all, about how the interplay of as above, so below, and also are there certain times for you when it's just easier to tap in as opposed to other times, full moons, new moons, quarter moons?
Yeah, of course. So generally, yeah, when you have kind of like the numerology alignments, the portals are amplified and the energy is amplified, and then obviously based on like your chart and your star sign, like that also is amplified at different times. But I think, yeah, like if you want to work with it in the best possible way, it's really down to following your intuition. So I have a little bit of astrology knowledge, but the funny thing is with me, like I'll feel some things like different or maybe more amplified or maybe more grumpy, and then I'll actually speak to a friend or an astrologer and they'll be like, oh, this planet, so like I think Venus now recently just entered Aries, yeah, and I was like having like conflicts and I'm like, but why is this like happening? They're like, no, so this has happened. So for me, it works the other way around. I will feel it first and then I'll revert to the astrology and be like, oh, okay, so this makes sense. This is why it's happening. But definitely like the numerology, and I think like all the information is out there. So based on your star sign, based on your chart, like do a little bit of research and see how you can use the energy to the best of your ability, because these portals amplify what you already do and who you already are. So if you're feeling like very sad and down, then it's going to make you feel more of that. But if you're trying to, without spiritually bypassing, guys, like I'm not saying you shouldn't, you feel all your emotions. If you're sad, it's okay. You don't have to, But when there's these portals and things happening, you kind of want to try and make the best out of it. I don't know if this helps. Answers, yeah.
Thank you.
Pleasure, yeah. Anyone else? Okay, I've got 5 minutes, so if there's anyone else that wants... Yes, I've got a question down there. If we can get him the microphone. Please, thank you.
Hey.
Hello.
What did that light language thing you did do?
So yeah, it's good that you're asking, because I do generally give a little bit of a, it's going to integrate in your system. Up to 3 weeks it can take for everything to integrate. It will go where it's best needed for your system and energy field. But guys, hydrate, drink lots of water. You might feel a bit dizzy. You might feel like you're a bit emotional. You might get triggered more easily. In the next day or two, there's a lot of very heightened energy. So just stay present and stay grounded. And to answer your question, it will do what is most needed for you and your system. I can't know that because I'm not you. And also it works on a subconscious level. It will bypass your conscious mind. So it's really a matter of trusting, but you can be aware of the somatic response and maybe be a bit more mindful of how your body feels in the next few hours and few days to get an answer to that.
Okay. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Anybody else?
I think, no one else? Oh yes, there's a question down there, yeah? Sorry guys, I have the bright lights in my face, so I'm not like purposely ignoring people. It's a bit difficult to see.
Yeah, thank you, thank you for your work and help.
Pleasure.
I was wondering, have you worked around military bases? And then a fun question is, what physical places do you recommend going for improving, progressing, or amplifying this type of work?
Water. They just sent me water. So go in places where there's water. So that helps a lot. And no, I actually have not worked around military bases. I've worked in places where there's been war and massacre and bloodshed, but not specifically in military bases. However, I have worked with people who have been coming out of MK Ultra programs. So I have worked I'm a little bit familiar with that energy, if that's what you're asking, but I haven't per se worked on places. Maybe I will in the future, but not right now. Well, not at this moment in time. And what they sent to me just now, as you asked, is water. Like working with the water will amplify. But anything really with nature, working with the elements. Pleasure. Yeah?
Okay, I'm back. Yeah, one more.
Welcome back.
Will that the light language transmission, do you get that over, if we were to watch you on YouTube or something like that, would it translate the same?
Yes.
Okay,
You would still integrate. They work beyond space and time, so you will integrate, and that's all my channels and social media, so you can, and there's my business cards in the back there, so if you're looking for my work, I post a lot of free content and energy work online. The way I channel in public settings is a little bit different to my online work, but you will still receive, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Pleasure.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Hey.
I just wanted to say thank you because I have actually used your activation,
Online, yeah.
the last year you did one here.
Yeah.
And I took the video and I did a sound bath.
Okay.
They said it'd be okay to do your activation.
Yeah, of course, guys. So with me, this is not some secret information that you can't share, and it's my information. Please go out there, share the light language, share what you learned here, share what I did. You're more than welcome to. The more people see it, the more it's spread, the more it helps, the more it can assist, the happier I am.
Well, where I was going with that is that it really worked.
Oh, great. Thank you.
That session, so thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
We have one more question.
I have
Sure.
a question.
Yes.
Over here,
Oh,
Althea.
sorry,
Hi,
yeah.
my love. My question is, if you're getting a transmission, how can you decipher what it means in a way that your consciousness can understand? Because it comes in a different language and form. So how could, like, I've had other people say you can ask them to communicate through English, but I haven't been able to have that experience. Like, it's oftentimes difficult to receive. I can understand what it feels like physically on my personal body. I don't work on other people, but I don't know what it always means.
Yeah, I think, thank you for that, because it's like a question that a lot of people ask. I think the clarity of your channel is directly proportionate to the depths to which you've met yourself. So if there is doubt, it's going to be more difficult to interpret and understand. I don't believe that light language can be translated verbatim, because it's not a language like would be your English language. Your English is a man-made language. Light language is an expression of the soul. So I don't think that there's, you know, like there's a feeling, an emotion, a sense to it. But because it's also so multidimensional, the way you receive it and what comes through to you will be interpreted and received differently from someone else. So I think practice definitely helps. Setting an intention before opening channel. And generally when you first start channeling and you're not working on people, you'll be working on your own system. So it'll be easier to figure out because you're working on you and you'll be feeling it within your system. So I don't know if this helps. Yeah? Pleasure. Okay.
I think that's it. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Perfect timing as well. Hi, yes,